This November, in order to fight anxiety, I will be 1. Reading a lot of good books, and 2. Joining a readathon. This is going to be the first time ever that I participate actively in a readathon. I'm going to be one of the co-hosts. It's a 1-month-long readathon created by Hannah, and it's called Once Upon a Readathon. And so in today's video, what we're going to see is a little bit of a deep dive of that readathon, my TBR, and also some recommendations because dang, this is fun, this is incredible, but it's not that easy. Why I'm joining this readathon? 1, because there's a lot of different teams and amazing co-hosts, but 2nd, because this readathon, it's not just a bingo board, but it has different steps, it has challenges, and it has this ambience that it's surrounded by fairy tales, retellings, and although you don't really need to read fantasy in order to fulfill these different prompts, I am deeply enthralled about all of these and I cannot say no, so thank you Hannah for inviting me. And so let's start with the different teams within this readathon. There are 5. They're the princesses. I am one of those co-hosts, so really join that team if you want. Then we will also have the witches, the fairy godmothers, we will have the wolves and also the huntsmen. But also there's going to be a lot of reading sprints and really a very lively Discord. So if you enjoy talking about books, even if you believe that you're just going to be reading 1-2 books, it's fine. Join and just have fun. But once that you have selected your team, the next thing that you want to do is to understand this incredible quest that it's the readathon. And the gist of this story is that we have a man that was chasing immortality, and along that way he made a deal with the sorcerer, and as a result of that he became an apple tree, and that fruit, it's the one that it's in reality providing immortality. And so our quest will start researching that story and fulfilling it when taking the apple. And in order to win or finish this readathon, we will have 5 steps that belong to that quest, and each of these steps will have 3 different prompts and hard mode. You just need to fulfill at least one of the prompts in order to jump to the next level. So in theory, you can win these by reading 5 books. So this is my strategy. I want to be reading at least those 5 books in order to jump and pass through the different steps, but I can come back, you know, if there's another book that I want to read or if I want to score more points. And let's go now to my TBR, and in order to do so, let's understand a little bit these different steps. The first one is that we will need to research the history of the apple tree. And for that, the prompts are a retelling, second one, royalty, or third, the words once upon a or time in the title. The hard mode here is to have at least 2 of these words. And what I'm going to do is to pick the royalty element as well as the a, and what I'm going to be reading it's Venom, a Dark and Sweet, which is the continuation of a magic steeped in poison. I'm picking this up because I'm expecting it to be real quick, so I want this fulfilling sensation, but also because we will have this story where we have our girl who is in this set of trials in order to become the best tea brewer of the realm, and there's a lot of these royal intrigues. If you're seeking some recommendations for these prompts, first in the retelling, what comes to mind is all of these trillion of Beauty and the Beast retellings that we have. So A Court of Thorns and Roses, A Course of Dark and Lonely, also for the Wolf. There's also House of Salt and Sorrow, which is a retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses, and it's a standalone. And in adult fantasy we have She Who Became the Sun, which might be kind of like a Mulan retelling, The Song of Achilles, and maybe Circe. Within the royalty prompt in the young adult spectrum we'll have 6 Crimson Cranes, Magic Steeped in Poison, The Wrath and the Dawn, An Enchantment of Ravens, To Kill a Kingdom, The Cruel Prince, Violet Made of Thorns, Defy the Night, and We Hunt the Flame. And in the adult fantasy side we have The Priory of the Orange Tree, The Stardust Thief, The Witch Kingdom, and also Daughter of the Moon Goddess. And of course, with the Once Upon a Time, the perfect book, it's Once Upon a Broken Heart, which will make the hard mode directly. I might come back at the end of all of these and read the Book of Gothel, which in theory should score me some points with the retelling element because it's a Rapunzel retelling. And going into the second step, we have Find a Map to the Apple Tree. And in here, the prompts are first, a book with a map, second, a book that is recently acquired, and third, a book that has in its cover either red, yellow, or orange colors. And again, hard mode here will be having 2 of these colors. And my must here, and the one in order to move to the next one, is City of Brass, which hopefully I'm expecting it to have a map. It's going to be recently acquired because I will buy it. And then it has orange, red and yellow, so I'm planning to actually score all of them with this one. This is an adult fantasy and it's supposed to be very large. We will follow our girl who is a little bit of con artist, and she will find herself in the situation where she meets a gene, and together with that gene they will start this quest to the city of Brass. It has this Arabian ambience which I'm really compelled with, and also fairly political, and everyone has been recommending this to me, so I cannot wait. Also, and I probably will come back here, I will be reading Bloodmark, which is book 2 in the Legendborn series, recently acquired, and it has a little bit of red. Legendborn is a young adult fantasy series. It was one of my favorites last year. Follows our girl who is coping with the death of her mom. She finds herself studying a new college, and she discovers that there's this secret society called Legendborn that it's composed with a different descendants of the Arthurian line. But there's another book that is going to be released mid-November, which I cannot wait either. The Lost Medal. It will have a map, so I will have a click here, and also it will be recently acquired. Straight to the next step, which is actually gather companions for this quest. In here, the first prompt is romance, the second one family, the third one a book whose author it's new to you. Hard mode, it's if it is a debut novel. One of my must is A Light in the Flame, which is book 2 in the A Shadow in the Amber series, which is the prequel of the From Blood and Ash. Lots of romance and also family. And it's a story about the god of life, of death. And if I have time, I really want to read The Final Strife, which will help me score a new to me and also a new debut book. This is a different point of view story that at its core it's a trials kind of book, but also we will have this society is differentiated based on different elements, and we will have these different people fighting in trying to change that society. I've been hearing a lot of good things about this book, and I really believe it's going to be right down my alley. In terms of recommendations here, like romance, I will link in the description some books where I really recommend my top, or also the ones that I really recommend if you are starting with fantasy romance and books that are new to you. That's of course very subjective, but one of the debuts that I've enjoyed the most lately, it's Kaikeyi, so I really recommend that out if you haven't checked it already. Then we move to the fourth step, which is actually starting the quest to the apple tree, and this one, must say, it's probably the easiest for a fantasy lover, because the first one is that it needs to be a book with magic, which mainly all the recommendations that I've done, although I will link down below a video where I list some book recommendations with amazing magic systems. The second one, it's a book with historical setting, which a little bit more complex for me. And then the third one, book with 300 pages, like everything. And the hard mode, 450 pages. What I'll try here is to be smart about these and score the first and second prompt before the last ones, because these ones can really drag. And so here I will be reading 10,000 Teachers. This is kind of like in a Jane Austen setting, which hopefully will count. And then it also has a little bit of magic, because we will follow this girl that it's a maid in this house. She is in love with this gentleman of the house, and she does this deal with a fairy, and she will get to regret that. I read Half a Soul not so long ago, and I absolutely adored the way this author writes, and so in this sense I really recommend Half a Soul in order to match all of these. If I have time, I want to get into Sheep of Magic by Robin Hobb, which is the first one in the Life Ship trilogy, which of course it's more than 450 pages. It's actually around the 800, so it's kind of like a nice to have once I fulfilled all of these. And in this last step, we will have first a book that is taking out of a poll, which of course I will leave like by the end, and I will hopefully do this easy for me. Let me know if you have an idea of the different books that you would like me to feature there. Then we have a conflict, also a book that features a grey or unlikable character. What I'm gonna do is read book 2 in the Greenbone saga, so Jade War, which of course has conflict. It has a grey character, and also one of the main characters, it's pretty grey. So scoring all of these, and these will leave by the end. Yay, it seems that the video was corrupted, so thank you for watching. See you real soon. Please join this readathon.